Some places keep 100 years of secrets by simply telling everyone there's nothing to see. Leafmore High has a problem it doesn't talk about. Almost 30 students have disappeared over the school's 100-year history, and every single time, the principal has stood in front of worried parents and press and said the same thing. Nothing to worry about. For 100 years, that was enough. It stops being enough on one ordinary night when a basketball player named Kenny Matthews stays late in the gym. His younger sister Shannon watches practice from the stands. The two of them bickering the way siblings do before Kenny uses their parents being out of town as an excuse to spend the night at his girlfriend Ashley's house instead of coming home. It is the kind of small, ordinary, teenage decision that shouldn't matter at all. He never makes it there. Something in the school finds him first, and he becomes its next test subject. When Kenny doesn't come home, his friends go looking. Josh Carter, the shy, reserved school reporter with a nose for stories nobody wants told, the one who always seems to sense when there's more going on in a room than anyone's saying. Ashley Thompson, Kenny's girlfriend, sharp enough not to believe the easy explanations she's handed. Stanley Jones, Stan for short, the stoner and small-time thief whose talent for picking locks and cracking into places he shouldn't be turns out to be exactly the skill the night calls for. And Shannon, Kenny's little sister, who isn't about to sit at home while her brother is missing. 5 teenagers in total end up trapped in the building once night falls, and the game that follows never forces you to keep any of them alive. Losing someone doesn't end the story, it just makes what's left of it harder. And the only way to see the ending where everyone actually makes it out is to keep every single one of them breathing until the credits roll. They go back to Leafmore after hours to search for Kenny, and the doors lock behind them before any of them understand what that means. What they find inside doesn't behave like a normal building anymore. Something in the dark moves with purpose, and it does not want light anywhere near it. The group learns fast that flashlights aren't just for finding their way. They are the only real weapon standing between them and whatever is hunting them through the halls. A beam of light is enough to force these things into a weaker, more vulnerable shape. Flashbangs work like small emergency suns, clearing a room in a single flash. And more than once, the only way through is smashing a window open and using actual daylight as a weapon, letting the sun do what no gun in the building can. The deeper the group goes, the clearer the shape of the truth becomes, and it's worse than ghosts. Principal Herbert Friedman is not just the man who spent decades denying a problem. He is the problem, and has been for 100 years. Decades ago, Herbert and his twin brother Leonard traveled to Africa and returned with a rare, strange plant called Mortifilia. Obsessed with the idea of living forever, the brothers began experimenting on themselves, and it worked, in a sense. Herbert and Elizabeth Wixon, Leonard's own wife, are both well over a century old, despite looking like they've barely cracked 60. That success came at a price, neither of them fully accounted for, and the price is currently living somewhere beneath the school. That price is Leonard. His own experimentation on himself went catastrophically wrong, warping him into something no longer entirely human. Kept hidden away in the dark for years while his brother continued the work above ground. Without the funding to properly treat what his own experiments had done to him, Herbert built an entire high school as cover, using its students as unwilling test subjects in pursuit of a version of the serum that wouldn't backfire the way it did on his own twin. When even that wasn't enough, he found quiet ways to keep the supply of test subjects coming, always with the same excuse waiting for the parents and the press. Nothing to worry about. It falls apart the way these things tend to. Professor Walden, a teacher who has been infected himself and is desperately searching for a cure, finally corners Herbert and shoots him dead. Leonard feels his brother die. What's left of his mind breaks entirely. He kills Walden in retaliation and fully transforms into a massive, monstrous version of himself. More building than person at that point, all rage and rot. His roots and branches holding up the very ceiling around him. The students make their stand against him in the gym, the same room where this whole night technically started, with Kenny shooting hoops alone. There's no clean victory here, no dramatic final showdown in open light. They tear through the roots, suspending Leonard from the ceiling, and the ceiling itself comes down on top of him, burying him under the wreckage of the very room he'd claimed as his own. Whoever survives the night walks out into a morning that looks exactly like the one before it. The school reopens eventually, the way these places always do. The urban legend gets folded into the rest of Leafmore's rumors, one more story students tell each other in the dark, without ever quite believing there was a truth like this one hiding underneath it the whole time. Somewhere beneath the gym floor, in the wreckage nobody's cleared away, something that used to be a man is still down there. The story never quite promises that he's gone for good. If this one resonated, subscribe. New essays drop weekly, and you never know what's coming next. Share it with someone who'd get it, and leave a comment. I want to know which door this opened for you. Mystery Compendium, the archive is always open.